because I moved to Germany 2 years back to start my master's, but I'm originally from Pakistan, Islamabad, of course, my home city. I call myself a little bit of a digital evangelist and a community builder, and I really loved internet from a very young age and digital media for sure. And personally, I really love to empower people with digital skills and business management skills. So, yeah, I graduated from National University back in 2017. And ever since that, I have been working in the corporate and consultancy and as well as the startup ecosystem. And more recently, I have trained a lot of women entrepreneurs, students, social entrepreneurs, as well as the police of Pakistan on digital and social media skills and business management skills. So, yeah, after some time in Pakistan, I wanted to pursue my master's. So I'm here right now in Berlin, doing my master's in management, also working with Allianz as a working student. Allianz is an insurance company, but I'm working with them actually in the learning and development area. So actually training employees on different skill set. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Yeah, let me try to move the slide. It's really hard. Okay. Yeah. So what I like personally, of course, one of them is Google Technologies. I really love Google Technologies. The second is I like to, of course, travel and party. And last but not the least, I love food, and especially ever since moving to a different country where you have to cook your own meal. So I also enjoy cooking sometimes, not the time when I have a lot of work on myself, but yeah, I personally like cooking now. And yeah, apart from work, apart from studies, I also love to volunteer with different organizations because this is where you love, not love, this is one, you learn a lot and actually love contributing back towards the community. So yeah, Google Developers Group, in short, GDZ Islamabad is one of them. I have been associated with GDZ Islamabad for almost, I guess, more than 4 years, almost forgot when I joined. Yeah, and also Women Tech Makers. So I'm one of the Women Tech Maker ambassadors for GDC Islamabad. And yeah, for within GDC Islamabad, I also take part in I'm Remarkable. So I'm Remarkable as a workshop. So I'm the Gold Tier facilitator. Local Guides is also another program by Google, completely volunteer driven. I take part in that. And of course, when I was in Pakistan, I used to take part in TEDx Islamabad as a volunteer to organize and help them. And Erasmus Mundus was one of the association or organization where I also volunteered for a very long time. So first of all, I shared a lot of things. I know we have 1 hour of learning, but I would like to have this training more and more engaging between us. So, okay, there are a lot of admits. Okay, thank you, Alina, for admitting all of them. But yeah, so those of you who just joined, my name is Aiman, and I'm going to lead a session. I will tell you what exactly is the session and everything. Maybe some of you might already have an idea. But before that, let's share with me that how are you guys doing? So just to let you know, I'm trying to practice my German too. I have an exam on 15th March, I guess, and I have zero preparation. So maybe I'll learn or try to practice German with you. I know some of the words only. So wie geht's means how are you? So anybody feel free to share in the chat or maybe unmute yourself that how are you guys doing? How's life in general? I've asked that some of you guys are working with DSCs. Alhamdulillah. Good, Aisha. Very nice. Some of you guys
We are good, Aiman. Thank you
Yes,
for
Ali.
asking.
Great, great. Thanks, Ali. And Mir Hamza has an exam next weekend with zero preps, which is fine. Farhan, I am minus A1. I have a A2 exam this 15th of March as part of my studies, but trust me, my German is not good. I'm really trying to improve, but it's a very hard language. Thanks, Farhan. Good, Aisha. So yeah, all the best for me as well as Aisha and the people who have exam. But yeah, Umar is also doing good, working on solution challenge. So let's see solution challenge kya hai. But yeah, uh, Hashir, ich bin gut und dir. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to have like a fun conversation with all of you guys. Yeah, okay. also trying to share over here that in a lot of languages you say, okay, how are you? Or in German you say wie geht's? Or in German actually there is a way to ask informal too. Like for example, if you're talking to a friend, you say wie geht's. But if you're talking to actually like a colleague of yours in seniority or informally, so you say wie geht es Ihnen? So in a more respectful way. बट आई नो इन पाकिस्तान यूजली जब हम एक फ्रेंड से बात कर रहे होते हैं तो मैं भी अपने फ्रेंड्स को अक्सर कॉल करके पूछती हूँ हेलो हाय जिंदा हो या नहीं so yeah yeah I just wanted to keep a check on you guys but also at the same time like seriously wanted to ask like how are you guys doing because very recently I had COVID so it was like a very challenging experience for me to survive those 7 days but also wanted to check in with you guys how are you guys doing I know Pakistan में ऐसा कोविड नहीं है but still God forbid अगर आपकी फैमिली में अगर किसी हुआ है but anyways in general like how are you guys doing thanks Aisha thanks so much so yeah just in general wanted to check in with you guys and of course I wanted to keep this the entire training friendly and not too much for you guys to like a burden on you guys so let's try to make this as friendly and as interactive we can. I need a lot of input from you guys because yeah, it's like Berlin mein there's this afternoon time, so almost 3 p.m. So मैं पढ़ाते पढ़ाते आप लोगों को सुला ना दूँ या मैं खुद ना सो जाऊँ so it's I guess it's always better to have an interactive session. So let's proceed. So yeah, why are we here? Yeah, let's do it, Sufyan. Yeah, let's try to that intense rather. Okay, so why are we here? Anyone जो अभी भी जिसने ज्वाइन किया to learn of course to learn sorry guys there was this notification going on I got distracted anyways yeah so why are we here we are here to of course for our solution challenge so I got to know that the solution challenge is happening and it's the main idea is that you guys pick up a UN SDG goal and you come up with you identify a problem and then you try to solve that problem using a Google technology in some way. So overall, it's a global hackathon. I'm super happy that it is Pakistani students can also take part in that who are belonging from Google Developer Students Group. Yeah, Shafa is super right and Sufyan, yeah, you guys are right. So the purpose of this training and a couple of other training is to help you guys to be on the top of the solution challenge teams and yeah and of course to shine on and hopefully see one of you guys or one of the teams to be in the top 10 and win something and I've heard that the top 50 teams will also receive like a very good stipend or something in reward from Google and also top 10 finalists and of course the top 3 ones too. So but the most important thing is that I mean this monetary benefits on this thing are these are always secondary. Trust me when you are in your stage which is actually bachelor studies the most important thing is that you guys learn something out of any kind of global hackathon. I know money and all these kind of goodie bags are kind of lucrative incentives, but at the end of the day, trust me, the amount of learning experience you get out of this is so much greater than the money that you will receive that you have no idea. And you will actually cherish these moments in the future. Yeah. कि भाई हमने इस challenge में participate किया and we got some learning out of it. So make sure before going actually into the training and giving before actually going into the training so I wanted to set a base that you guys learn something out from it, not just from this session but others, and try to work on the solution challenge irrespective of the fact that there is a money associated with it. Because sorry, Abu Bakr, I never applied for it because at that time Pakistan mein DSCs nahi the, so yeah, I was never a part of DSC. I was always a part of GDC Islamabad. Anyways, so yeah, you guys are also know that DSC summit bhi hoti hai, so the reason why I put the picture over here is because मैंने शुरू में पूछा था कि किसके कौन-कौन DSC है या नहीं. So those of you who are not DSCs and are going to become one, there's always an opportunity to connect, and there's a very great summit which happens for the DSCs of that particular country. So do take part, and yeah, those who are already a part of DSC to contribute in a very positive way, so that I can see the next picture with your faces on it. All right. So yeah, when I was going through the solution challenge, I got to know, okay, there are a lot of steps, of course, because it's like a global hackathon. The first is that you join a Google developer group, so that's why I wanted to know, okay, कौन-कौन DSC का already part है. Then you form a team and register, and you select the UN sustainable goal, blah blah blah, and then you identify a problem, come up with a solution. Then you design that technology, you test your solution, which is the most important and the critical part of the entire thing, and you iterate on your project, and finally, of course, record and submit your solution. But these are all the steps, of course, you will do throughout that global hackathon. But the reason why we are here is today is to understand कि भाई हमने सबसे पहला step क्या करना है. So of course you are part of Google Developers student group. I guess most of you guys are already are. Now, the most important thing is that you have to form a team. I guess for that, you will most likely get the information from Hafsa, and that how to form a team, whether you can form a team within the same DSC or anywhere. That's Hafsa will share probably later. But whether you find a team or not, the most important thing is that you have to select a UN Sustainable Development Goal. There are I will go into the next. Oh no, actually, I forgot to have that UN Sustainable Goals picture. So I guess there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, if I'm not wrong, based on different priorities, based on gender equality, life on Earth, life below Earth, equal opportunities for work, something like that. So you basically have to in this session we will try to develop कि भाई हमने किस तरह एक problem को identify करना है, और when the problem is being identified, then how to actually categorize that within the UN SDGs. कि for example हमने एक problem pick कर ली है, तो ये problem किस particular SDG के अंदर fall करती है, so that when tomorrow you are filling up the form and when you're tomorrow developing your pitch, you keep the entire pitch recording revolving around that particular SDG. ठीक हो गया? So forget about the rest of the steps right now, because the most important thing for you to focus right now is to actually select a UN sustainable development goal. But before even selecting that sustainable development goal, you actually have to take a lot of time to come up with a problem or to actually identify a problem. But we will go through it. But what is the process to go from here to there is that you all open up your minds, and I'm pretty sure that you guys all are open-minded. But open minds ka maqsad ye hai ki bhai think beyond yourself. Try to also include all the things which you normally forget. Okay, I am the moderator, Alina. Is there a possibility that somehow this notification is turned off, this admitting thing? Okay, because this is slightly annoying for me, but I hope all the people can
Okay,
join in.
let me check because
Okay,
usually तुम लोग यही करते. Let me check.
okay. Thank you so much, Alina. Yeah, sorry for that, but it was like really interfering me. Anyways, so yeah, the point here is जब आप एक problem identification phase में जाते हैं, तो one of the most important thing is that you try to consider all your surroundings, and you make sure that you open your mind for all the possible considerations and think beyond and challenge yourself. Don't just take the mainstream problems. Try to actually look at the problem, different problems, and try to see, okay, what is the the critical problem, and how you can take that problem and try to solve it. So don't just limit yourself. Try to challenge yourself कि भाई अगर ये problem exist कर रही है and किसी ने इस oops, I guess something happened and I'm no longer the host. Okay, I can share again.
Yes, it's working, ma'am.
Okay, perfect, cool. All right. So yeah, I was there. Okay, yeah, challenge yourself. Look at the problem from all perspective. अक्सर लोग होते हैं कि एक ही problem को उठा के उसी पे different solutions डाल होते हैं. You guys can always do that, but try to also look for such problems जो अक्सर लोग ignore कर देते हैं. And those problems still exist in the society, still exist in the community, and goes unnoticed. And for this all, you have to make sure that you focus on your surroundings. Whenever there's a startup challenge की कोई class होती है, कोई professor होता है, तो वो सबसे ज़्यादा इस चीज़ पे focus करता है कि भाई, if you really want to identify problems, try to look within your own surrounding first. आप अपने आगे पीछे देखो. You can actually start from your own house, or from your own street, or from your own sector, and try to see कि भाई सबसे ज़्यादा problem कहाँ lie कर रही है. And I'll give you an example later on, but you try to observe things. So you take your surrounding, you try to observe things around it, and then you ask your question, okay, अगर ये चीज़ यहाँ है, तो ये क्यों है, और क्या ऐसा किया जा सकता है कि ये चीज़ यहाँ से remove हो जाए, if it's something negative externality to the environment. Okay. All right, so let's together find a community-based problem, and for that we did discuss the UN SDGs. I guess my presentation is not super clear because you need to take a microscope and go into those SDGs. But yeah, what you guys can do is that you can always Google UN SDGs, and yeah, आपके पास, if I'm not wrong, I was correct. Yes, thank God. Yeah, there are 17 SDGs. So yeah, you can always see what are those SDGs. But like I said, before actually going into the SDGs, thanks, Hafsa. Yeah. So before actually going into the SDGs, forget about the SDGs right now, because you can actually find a problem and then relate it to the SDG. Right now, the focus is that you try to take your time and find a problem which is near your area, near your surrounding. So what I will do is that, I mean, I was thinking to put you guys in the breakout room, but since you guys are so much, so maybe now I will stop sharing the screen and try to give you 5 minutes, let's say. I'll give you 5 minutes, and you guys think about your house wherever you are. Or in the case of Asad, I remember he was in an office. So just try to observe your surrounding and try to see कि भाई इस जगह में अगर कोई problem है, or is that thing relevant to a society or relevant to a community that actually causes a bigger problem. ठीक है? Just to give you a small example from a house perspective, one could be, for example, your waste. So सबसे ज़्यादा आजकल दुनिया में बात चल रही climate change की, and one of the thing behind climate change is actually plastic, and then it comes down to your waste. So if you look at your house, so आपके घर से रोज क्या होता है, कूड़ा जाता है, and then कूड़े वाले होते हैं, वो उठाते हैं उसको. And then, of course, the process works out in a way that it would decompose. जो CDA की team होती है, वो कहीं जाकर फिर decompose करती है. But बहुत सारी countries ने क्या किया है कि they try to segregate the waste based on plastic, based on recyclable, and then based on food, which is organic waste. So I know in Pakistan there are certain residential communities like Barrier Town, and if I'm not wrong and not mistaken, DHA too. So they also try to tell their residents in the houses to try to segregate the waste on the basis of food, which is organic, and then paper, and then the plastic. So you can actually, from your own house, try to identify a problem कि भाई इतना कूड़ा करकट जमा होता है, तो why not start to segregate the waste so that tomorrow जब वो कूड़े वाले आए, so they can actually put the different things into different categories. So this is just like a small example from your own house and from your own surrounding. Actually, what you can do is that tomorrow create a solution for a problem which is waste, that how people can segregate the waste so that tomorrow actually the recyclable things could be reused after some time. Okay, so this is what I gave to you. Now the time for me is 15:25, but for Pakistan it could be 3 or 4 hours ahead. So whatever the time is, take 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, I want to ask at least 5 people to know कि भाई आप लोगों ने कौन कौन सी problem identify की है. And maybe just to give a clarity, you can always identify more than one problem. So 2 or 3 problems we identify कर लें, that's up to you. But take this time, maybe take 5 to 8 minutes, that's completely fine. But take this time to actually challenge yourself, look at your surroundings, and ask yourself a question that, okay, if there's a problem, then yeah, what is the critical idea behind it? Okay. All right. There's a question. Akib, you have a question? Yes, please ask.
I actually wanted to ask that what should be the scope of our solution? Should it be only applicable to our country, or should it be in such a manner or design that it should be applicable everywhere around the world? Like, for
Where
example, we identify an educational gap that will be only in our country, but we are not sure about it whether it is in other countries or not. So, should we go with it or stop it?
Okay, a very, very, very nice question, and actually made me think, okay, what should be the focus area? But personally, I guess when you're trying to work on any problem, and if you first try to test it out in your own surrounding, and if it actually becomes good, then you can pitch this pilot and replicate it to the other cities and other countries. But from my personal opinion and perspective, I guess you need to consider it for your own society, community, or a city first. And then once it goes in the pilot works fine, then you replicate it and try replicate it for other cities or for the entire country or for other countries or markets too.
आई मीन मतलब नेसेसरी नहीं है कि वो जो आपका सोल्यूशन है वो
Mhm.
पूरी वर्ल्ड में कहीं भी एप्लीकेबल हो लाइक इट इफ इट्स जस्ट एप्लीकेबल टू योर कम्युनिटी इज इट ओके
As far as I know, it's okay because I also saw previous solution example on the website, and it was focusing on the water scarcity within Africa, within one particular country, if I'm not wrong. So as far as I know, it's fine. But I guess we can check the eligibility later on. But right now,
Okay.
what you can do is
Sorry to
yes,
cut you
Akshay,
off.
please.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm just here to answer that question. So Akib, आपका जो solution challenge का जो problem statement है, वो जितना specific आप करना चाहें उतना specific हो सकता है. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपका solution पूरी दुनिया के लोगों का मसला solve करे. वो आपकी country या आपकी country में किसी एक minority को भी focus कर सकता है. तो जब आप अपना submission कर रहे होंगे तो आपने justify ये करना है कि आप उसको किसके लिए बना रहे हैं और उनका सोल्यूशन आप किस तरह से उनको प्रपोज करें लेकिन ऑडियंस इज नॉट लिमिटेड टू एनी geographical location by any means.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. But my concern is that I actually want to work on educational gaps that I see in our system. But the thing is that I don't know the gaps of education in other countries. But and I also wanted to ask that how can I check the validity or viability of my solution? Like in general sense, if I have some proposal or an idea or solution, then how to validate it if it's viable to proceed with or not.
So see, आपके दो parts question के दो parts हैं. इतनी देर बाकी सब अपने around एक problem ढूंढे जो ये मैंने कहा है. लेकिन इसमें जो पहला सवाल था ना वो ये था कि आपको दूसरी country से gaps का नहीं पता है. It's completely okay. You don't have to give a solution for other countries if you don't feel comfortable with it. आप अपने local market में जो problem solve करें आप उसका भी बता सकते हैं. That's also fine. जरूरी नहीं है कि आपका सोल्यूशन जैसा मैंने पहले कहा कि ज्यादा ऑडियंस को केटर करें. जो दूसरा आपका सवाल है कि आपने वैलिडिटी कैसे टेस्ट करनी है, उसका सबसे इजी सोल्यूशन ये है कि आपको पता है कि आप जिनको टारगेट कर रहे हैं. सो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप इस 18 से 20 या 18 से 25 के सेगमेंट में एक एजुकेशनल गैप आपने आइडेंटिफाई किया और आपका सोल्यूशन उनके लिए है, तो इसका सिंपल टेस्टिंग मैकेनिज्म ये है कि आप एक सैंपल लें और उनके साथ अपना सोल्यूशन टेस्ट कर लें. दैट्स द फर्स्ट वे फॉर यू टू actually validate the findings and validate your solution. And then of course there are many other ways. As sessions go हम उसमें उन चीज़ों को भी cover करेंगे कि आप validate कैसे करते हैं किसी चीज़ को. लेकिन that being said, scope आपका कुछ भी हो सकता है.
All right, thank you so much.
सो फरहान ने बड़ा अच्छा सवाल पूछा, व्हाट इफ वी हैव अ सॉल्यूशन व्हिच इज वेरी इफेक्टिव बट वी नो कि हमारी कम्युनिटी उसे अडॉप्ट नहीं करेगी. फरहान विल आंसर दिस टुवर्ड्स द एंड. आई वांट कि यू टेक योर टाइम टू थिंक ऑफ अ प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट अराउंड यू. इसको भी हम एंड पे आंसर करेंगे फॉर श्योर.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम ऐमन. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. आवाज.
Um,
Ma'am, you are not
sorry.
audible.
Sorry, guys, I was on mute. Typical IT issues. Anyways, yes, Asha, please ask your question.
तो सर मैम मेरा ये क्वेश्चन था कि जिस तरह भाई ने बात की कि एजुकेशन सिस्टम का गैप के बारे में, तो हम देखते हैं कि हमारे बच्चों में इवन के चाइल्ड लेबर भी बहुत ज़्यादा आम है और वो बच्चों को बचपन से लगा देते थे काम में. तो इसमें बच्चों को तो बिल्कुल सोच समझ नहीं होती. बच्चों को मैंने इवन के मैंने बच्चों से पूछा है कि काम क्यों करते हो, तो बच्चों को तो वालिदैन टिपिकल सोच वाले होते हैं कि कारोबार में ही सब कुछ लिखा है, पढ़ाई में कुछ नहीं रखा, पढ़ाई करके इतना पढ़ पढ़ के फ़ायदा नहीं. तो असल में अगर हम बच्चों की तालीम से पहले फोकस अगर हम करें वालिदैन की तालीम पे, यानी कि वालिदैन को पहले तरबियत दें, गाँव देहात जो बैकवर्ड एरियाज हैं उनको बताएंगे कि तालीम का क्या फ़ायदा है, किस तरह आपके बच्चे को तालीम कहाँ से कहाँ निखार सकती है, किस तरह आपके बच्चे को इवन की जिस तरह स्कॉलरशिप वगैरह जिस तरह आप जनवरी में पढ़ी है, इस तरह माशाल्लाह इस तरह अगर हम पाँच वालिदैन को दिखा लें तो इट विल बी अ लॉट ईजियर फॉर देम टू गाइड देयर चिल्ड्रन. तो ये मुझे एक बड़ा मसला नजर आता है कि इवन कि मैं भी अगर
Mm-hmm.
सीएस फील्ड में हूं, तो बहुत ही मुझे गाइडेंस की कमी मिली, बहुत ही ठोकरें खा के यहाँ पहुंचा हूँ. बस जैसे मर्जी है कि मगर ये है कि बहुत से बच्चे यहाँ तक पहुंच नहीं पाते, इंटर तक भी पढ़ते हैं, मैक्सिमम इंटर तक पढ़ते हैं और फिर वालिदैन को कारोबार में लगा देते हैं, क्योंकि उन्हें लगता है कि इंजीनियर बगैर डिग्री लेके भी ऐसे घूम रहा है. तो इट्स अ मेजर फ्लॉ इन आवर सोसाइटी आई थिंक, स्पेशली इन पाकिस्तान.
Yes, I agree that yeah, to some extent, our parents should also be educated. But at the same time, I guess you've identified again an issue, but try to see that okay, what would be the possibility ke hum जैसे आपने कहा कि try to narrow down your problem statement and again consider this problem and take your time. Okay, if you consider this is a problem, then how would you try to solve it? Try to think about it for some time. Take your time, and then after that we will try to see okay how to solve it or how to take this to the next step. Okay. Yes, Sufyan, you have a question?
यस मैम. सो मैम मैंने ये प्रॉब्लम देखी है कि जब हम कोई चीज़ ऑनलाइन बाय करते हैं तो देखने में तो वो मतलब अच्छी लग रही होती है, फॉर एग्जांपल सूट्स हैं, पर जब हमारे पास पहुंचती है तो उसकी क्वालिटी और जो क्वांटिटी क्वालिटी और साइज वो डिफरेंट होता है. तो मैं इस प्रॉब्लम पे काम कर रहा हूँ कि क्यों ना हम जैसे लिपस्टिक्स हैं, हेयर रिंग्स हैं, ठीक है, नोज पिन्स हैं, ग्लासेस हैं, सूट्स हैं, उसको शूज हैं, तो हम उसको ऑगमेंटेड रियलिटी में रियल टाइम में उसको पहना कर दिखा सकें कि कैसा लगेगा, आप पे सूट करेगा भी कि नहीं करेगा. तो मैं इस पे काम कर रहा हूँ अभी. जस्ट वांट टू टेल यू.
Okay, nice. If you're trying to consider this, also try to relate it to one of the UN SDGs and see whether the problem or the issue that you have identified, can you relate it to one of the SDG or not?
नो मैम, अभी मैंने सिलेक्ट नहीं किया, अभी ये प्रॉब्लम मैंने देखा नहीं है.
Okay. चलें, जो हफ्सा ने लिंक शेयर की थी,
यस
look
मैम,
at
लास्ट
that.
टाइम मैंने क्वेश्चन किया था उसमें ई कॉमर्स एक एक्सपर्टीज उसमें आई थिंक लाई कर रही है.
I mean, there is this SDG number 9 which says about industry innovation and infrastructure. You can always see कि भाई whether your particular problem or the solution that you're trying to develop for that problem to erase could fit it into that SDG or not. But right now, okay, good question, good thing that you've identified. But yeah, try to also look at your surrounding, like Hafsa said, narrow it down and try to challenge yourself and question कि भाई challenge yourself and question कि भाई yeah, what is the actual issue behind it?
Yeah, thank you ma'am.
Ma'am, I have something to add.
Yes, Ali, please.
Okay, ma'am, I have basically two ideas. One is in the controlled environment agriculture. Basically, the aim is to remove poverty, hunger. Sorry, Uh, it was a paper I read few years back, and it was a research, and it's a technology like developed by Netherlands. And the one is in the fintech niche. Since I'm myself a blockchain enthusiast,
Mm-hmm.
so to take the common people into the banking sector and provide them with a lot of opportunities to transact. For example, if for example, I'm a milkman, I want to pay my bill. First of all, it's very difficult to have his account and all that. To remove that process of opening the bank account through blockchain, everything online. And the second thing is to make a lot of points to so that you can put your money, you can transact it to into the common shops. So it is like that. So I have basically these two ideas. I was brainstorming a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but the scope is a bit long. I would like to have your input on this thing. Maybe it may work.
Okay. Again, I will reply to you that it's a good thing that you have identified, but the reason why I gave these 5 to 8 minutes is so that you guys can, look at your surrounding once again and try to identify the problems. And maybe then I will share the next thing. 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. And how many problems do you see? So take these 5 minutes, um, look at all the problems and try to also see how many problems do you see or how many problems have you identified till now. One example I already gave about the waste. Maybe there could be another thing related to waste or relate something similar you guys have already identified. So, like I said, identify maybe more than one or more than two problems. But yeah, take this time and do that. I guess there was another question, Jazib. Hi, so my question is if what if there's a solution that requires a substantial and initial investment in order to implement? Good point, Jazib. Uh, um,
सॉरी
there
आई
are
एम
a lot of ways.
जस्ट एक क्विक बिकॉज मुझे फीडबैक भी आ रहा है हमने सिर्फ अगले 3 मिनट इसलिए यूटिलाइज करने हैं कि वी थिंक तो आपके जितने भी प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स हैं या जितने भी क्वेश्चन हैं आप उनको कमेंट में ड्रॉप कर दो डू नॉट अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ लेट अदर्स थिंक उसके बाद फिर जब हम एंड पे आएंगे तो वील आंसर ऑल योर क्वेश्चंस एज वेल एमन आपके सारे सवाल जो है वो आंसर करके जाएगी हम उसे पहले जाने नहीं देंगे लेकिन कमेंट में ड्रॉप करते जाओ हम एंड पे डिस्कस करेंगे वील टेक 2 minutes of complete silence so that you can all think.
Okay. So I guess it's time that we continue with our training session. So any one of you guys would like to take the lead and share कि उसने कौन कौन सी problems identify की हैं और कितनी problems उसने देखी अपने surrounding में.
सबसे अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैम, मैं करना चाहता हूँ पहले मैंने सबसे पहले अपने सराउंडिंग में ये देखा है कि पानी का सबसे बड़ा मसला है कि साफ पानी हर बंदे को मैसर नहीं है। इवन के हमारे जो सोसाइटीज में है, जहाँ बड़ी सोसाइटी में वहाँ वाटर प्लांट्स वगैरह अवेलेबल हैं, तो वहाँ तो क्लीन वाटर मिलता है, मगर जो छोटी सोसाइटीज है वहाँ लोगों को गंदला पानी मिलता है, इवन की जो प्योरीफाई भी नहीं हुआ होता। तो बच्चों को, जो छोटे बच्चे, बड़ों को तो फिर भी थोड़ा इम्यून सिस्टम स्ट्रॉन्ग होता है तो वो उसको रेजिस्ट कर जाते हैं, मगर जो बच्चे वगैरह उनको डायरिया और इस तरह दूसरी बहुत सी बीमारी होती है। तो इवन इंडिया के अगर हम देखा जाए, इंडिया पाकिस्तान साथ हमसाया मुल्क है, और उधर इतनी टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी तरक्की कर ली है कि वो इवन सीवर का पानी यानी सीवरेज का पानी को वो फिल्टर करके उससे प्रोसेस करके उसको ड्रिंकेबल बना रहे हैं। उनके इतनी वो सहूलियात दे रहे हैं। और यहाँ पाकिस्तान में यही है कि इवन कराची में आप टैंकर डलवाने पड़ते हैं, आपको घर में साफ पानी नहीं मिलता, आपको पैसे दे के पानी खरीदना पड़ता है, जबकि आप गवर्नमेंट को इतने टैक्स वगैरह दे रहे हैं, फिर भी आपको फ्री पानी एक जो हक है वो नहीं मिलता। और जो पानी मिलता भी है वो भी पीने लायक नहीं होता, कि आप पियोगे तो आप
Yep.
बीमारी को ही एक तरह का वेलकम कर रहे हो। तो
So
that's the
आपने
main-
problem identify की कि yes, there is a problem कि भाई clean water is not accessible.
जी मैम।
Okay, perfect. Any other person who and also Hashir, were you able to link it with one of the SDGs?
Ma'am, can you please explain what is this?
Yeah, okay, so आपने identify कर ली problem and did you see the SDGs too कि किस SDG से ये problem match करती है?
स्टडी यानी कि हमारी हेल्थ से रिलेटेड इशू है मैम।
Okay. So what I will do is that in the next slide I will tell you. But all right, thanks Asher for sharing. Any other person who? Okay, I guess Manan has raised a hand. Okay, Manan, maybe you want to go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Basically, जो मैंने प्रॉब्लम देखी है वो है कुछ छोटे बच्चे होते हैं जिनको लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी होती है बेसिकली, और बेशक उनको कोई आईसाइट का इशू नहीं होता या वो सही तरह से याद नहीं कर सकते, उनको बेसिकली कोई मेंटल डिसऑर्डर होता है जिससे वो याद नहीं, कुछ याद सही तरह से नहीं कर सकते। इवन के उनकी आईसाइट ख़राब नहीं होती, लेकिन वो ऐसे देखते हैं लेटर्स को जैसे लेटर्स डांस कर रहे हो। बट जो पेरेंट्स होते हैं उनको लगता है कि हमारा बच्चा मतलब खुद नहीं पढ़ता। बेसिकली इसकी एग्जांपल दे देता हूँ मैं आपको। लेट्स सपोज तारे ज़मीन पर मूवी देखी है, उसके अंदर भी एक बच्चा होता है जो कि सही तरह से कुछ याद नहीं कर सकता। और जो मेरा बेसिकली फोकस है, मैं चाहता हूँ कि हम ऐसी चीज़ होनी चाहिए, ऐसी एक सोल्यूशन होना चाहिए जिसमें हम लोग ऐसा फॉन्ट या कोई ऐसा कलर्स यूज़ करके उस चिल्ड्रन के लिए कोई भी चीज़ इजी टू लर्न बना सके, ताकि वो इजीली याद कर सके अगर उसको कोई फेस हो रही है प्रॉब्लम। That's all.
Zabardast Manan. Thank you so much. You actually identified a problem and somehow also went ahead with the solution. So all right.
Sorry for interruption. एक चीज़ कंफर्म करनी थी कि ये हमारे 17 यूएन के सस्टेनेबल गोल्स में आता है, मतलब मेंटल हेल्थ वगैरह।
Yes. Okay. So let's actually focus on that, and that is actually the most important part of why we want to identify a problem and link it with the SDG. All right. So you have identified a lot of problems, also gave a lot of solution, but like I said, that you also need to see okay which problem is very critical, because like I said, बहुत सारे problems होते हैं, but you want to select that problem which is very critical. And why is that? Because not only you have to think yourself okay, how do you feel about that particular problem and whether you are passionate about it to solve it or not. Because just because you're working on something already, is that the reason that you would like to solve that problem because you have a ready-made solution, or you actually take a step back and you say okay, this is the problem and I'm passionate about solving it. For example, Manan और इससे पहले वाले जो थे उन्होंने कहा था कि भाई there is this clean water problem and this is the problem that I identified and I want to actually help the community and how I would help. Then of course comes the solution part.
Yes.
So this is yes. So this is important that you are actually passionate about solving that problem. So first part, of course, like I said, is problem identification. So guys, I will give you all the time afterwards, but let's try to go a little bit further into the training, and I will let you know that, okay, how you identify problem and link it with the SDG. So you try to clear a problem or a challenge from one or more of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So for example, जिन्होंने clean water का कहा था, if I'm not wrong, that is the SDG number 6. So क्लीन वाटर वाले जो लोग थे वो सिंपली अपने एसटीजी को कंसिडर करेंगे नंबर 6, एंड तमाम अपनी जो सोल्यूशन होगी वो इस एसटीजी, और जो पिच टेक हो गया, जो भी तमाम सोल्यूशन का आइडिया होगा वो इस एसटीजी के अराउंड रिवॉल्व करवाएंगे. फिर जिन्होंने कहा था अबाउट oh my god, I completely forgot about Manan, आपने किसके बारे में कहा था? From yeah, the kids. So that is basically could be fall under the quality education, or actually could fall under the reduce inequalities, because you're trying to bridge the gap, or actually trying to reduce the gap of between the two different people. So it could actually be categorized under reduce inequalities too. But what you do is that you identify a problem, you go into those SDG key definitions and try to recap which of your problem suits with which one of the best SDGs. For example, the person who's working on education can focus his or her problem on the SDG number 4, but at the same time, it could also be linked to the good jobs and economic growth. But यहाँ जो important बात ये होती है कि आपका जो problem और आपकी solution वो किस SDG से ज़्यादा match कर रही है, because there are certain SDGs जिस maybe आपकी कोई ऐसी solution होगी जो probably 2 SDGs उसे consider करेंगे.
Exactly.
So
मुझे ये confusion हो रही थी कि कोई एक से ज़्यादा में भी लाया कर सकती है.
To be honest, when you're actually working on a problem, you can actually select more than one SDG, but not more than 2 SDG would be recommended. Usually, if you're trying to solve create a solution, you do not pick more than 2 SDGs. But yeah, so you have identified the SDG. Now, the most important is that how you clearly explain that which specific SDG targets to the entry you're solving. So that is the most important, and I've reiterated from your eligibility criteria. It actually holds 10 points. So just make sure that during the problem identification process, you identify to the right SDG. Okay. All right. Of course. Thank you, sir. You're most welcome. So now the problem analysis में ये basically आपके सामने एक picture है जिसमें आपको नजर आ रहा symptoms, problem and causes. So you have certain steps to identify a problem. First of all, you understand the real world problems and user needs. So जैसे मना ने बड़े अच्छे तरीके से explain किया, और पिछले वाला ने भी कि भाई problem क्या है, और basically at the end of the day उसके user needs क्या है. So you try to gain an agreement on the problem definition. आपने problem identify कर लिया, आपने users identify कर लिया जो उसके effectees है. Then आप अपनी problem को define करते हो. उसके बाद you try to go in the root causes कि भाई इस problem के पीछे basically issue है क्या, किस वजह से ये issue rise कर रहा है. ठीक होगा? So the problem behind the problem कि भाई एक problem निकली, but उसकी problem actually start कहाँ से हुई थी. Then you identify the different stakeholder. Actually, this is the most important, the second most important part of your of the problem identification. For example, आपने problem identify कर ली, फिर आपने उसके एक particular stakeholder identify कर लिया जो उसके effective हैं. But at the same time, वो stakeholders कौन है जो इस particular problem के solution phase में या अगली phases में आपके साथ partners होंगे, या you have to actually collaborate with them in order to actually solve the problem. For example, in the case of setting up an education institution, be it for any particular gender or any particular community, you have to identify the stakeholder corner. For example, if you're actually setting up an academy, you have to, one stakeholder would be the educational ministry or a department that you have to contact. So during the problem identification phase, you also try to identify the different stakeholders involved. Then, of course, you define the solution boundary. कि भाई आपकी जो solution boundary है वो किस हद तक cover करेगी आपकी problem को. For example, like in the शुरू में मैंने आपको कहा था कि, और हफ्सा ने भी identify किया कि आप अपनी problem को focus करें ताकि आपकी जो solution है वो भी focus कर रहे जब आप उस problem पे काम कर रहे हैं. ठीक है? And you also, of course, identify the constraints during the process of the solution making process and in the implementation process वो आपके सामने आएंगे. For example, the economic, environmental, technical, and the political constraint. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप टेक्नोलॉजी पे काम कर रहे हैं, गूगल टेक्नोलॉजी कोई एप्लीकेशन बनाते हैं लेट्स से, तो whether it's applicable or downloadable or something like that, so you have to actually consider all the constraints that could lead to not implement your solution at the end of the day. Okay, and then of course you propose and create solution to meet those needs. Okay, so these slides and I guess the recording will be shared later on. That's not a problem, but yeah, I just wanted to give you an idea कि जब आप problem identification process में जाएं तो you have to actually consider all these points. And yeah, the process of defining a problem using a problem. So here I will give you an example. For example, लोग एक problem identify किया कि people have a huge problem with traffic in Lahore. And yeah, in order to solve that, we will create a ride sharing app for them. Then over here आपने एक problem की definition बता दी, problem identify भी कर ली और साथ में solution भी बता दी. But over here you also have to narrow it down to the fact कि भाई who are those people who are actually affected by that. So you try to categorize those people and actually try to get into your target group. For example, okay, let's say the people who are from the age of 20 to 40 are the most affected by this problem. And how huge the problem was, you actually try to narrow it down. कि भाई, let's say Lahore के किस area में सबसे ज़्यादा traffic है. And yeah, and also try to think, for example, एक problem है और अगर आप इसके लिए एक solution लेकर आ रहे हैं, तो is there already a certain solution which is in place for that particular problem to be solved? If not, or if yes, then what is the difference your solution or your application is going to bring in? So try to always consider these things while you are coming up with your problem identification phase. Okay, so next is the problem statement canvas. Given we are very short on time, so what I will do is that I will give you a take-home activity, but इसमें just to give you an overview, कि जब आप अपनी problem statement में, if you are stuck, so what you do is that you try to focus on people and you define your customer profile. So आपने problem identify कर लिया, आप उसका context define करते हो कि भाई ये problem exist कहाँ करती है, then what is actually the root cause of the problem, and इस problem को किस तरह से आप fix कर सकते हैं, what are the alternatives. And then, like I said, you have to, of course, have to define your customers who are actually affected by the problem and how often they are affected by the problem. Then what is the emotional impact? How does the customer feel overall? And what would be the impact that you're trying to bring in by solving that problem? And yeah, what are the alternative shortcomings? For example, if there is a ride-sharing app already in place for the congestion of traffic in Lahore, what are the disadvantages of using those alternatives or something like that? Okay, I will not give this example because it is different, but okay, sorry, my computer got stuck for a minute. Anyways, so yeah, this is the problem statement canvas that you can use to actually identify a problem and go ahead with it. I can give you some examples so that it will help you to relate it with an SDG. For example, there is this woman who wanted to help the students or the children in orphanages with quality education. So she created a training hub for them, and she related it with the SDG of quality education. So she identified a problem कि भाई जो orphanages में student जो बच्चे होते हैं उन्हें quality education नहीं मिलती. So she created like a training curriculum for them and created her organization, and now she trains all those orphanage kids who actually get the quality education and then end up in universities. So she identified a problem, came up with the solution, and she also gave the impact. Later on, when the students get these training, the impact would be those orphanage students can actually get enrolled into the universities, and often at times, if you don't provide the quality education to orphanage kids, then they don't have the opportunity to get into the universities. Similarly, another example that I could give is that there is a problem of sanitary pads in a lot of cities of Pakistan where it's not accessible for people to have those sanitary pads for the female. So there's this social venture who actually um, designed very low cost sanitary pads for the females in the south of Pakistan. And she identified a problem. She came up with a solution, and during that process, she also, of course, related that to a particular SDG, which is, if I'm not wrong, sanitation, something related to sanitation. So yeah, these three examples will give you an idea. Okay, once you identify a problem, then how you relate it with the SDG. And last but not the least, when you're actually identifying the problem, also focus on that, how it is actually a community problem. So narrow it down, make it more focused, so that it's also easy for you to develop a solution for your problem. Okay. All right. So with this, I wish you all the best, and thank you, of course, for listening. Now, I guess I can take all the questions that you want. Sufyan, you raised a question.
Yeah, ma'am. So, ma'am, I just want to know that our solution for the problem can be completed, or we just need to prepare a demo for the Solution Fest.
Good point. I guess for that, Hafsa already shared the evaluation criteria and the timeline. You have to check that, and if I'm not wrong, you have to create like a demo or something like that. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
सुफियान, मैंने आपको comment में link post किया है. Just go have a look. I think that will answer your question.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any other question, guys?
हाँ, हमारे पहले सवाल थे. I think वो हम review कर लेते हैं. So I'm gonna read out the question. You answer, ठीक है? Farhan said, what if we have a solution which is very effective, but we know that our community won't adopt it? What do we do in that case?
Sorry, Hafsa, can you repeat?
So question ये है, okay, we know the solution to a problem, लेकिन society उसको accept नहीं करेगी, तो क्या करना चाहिए?
All right. Sorry, I guess I lost you before that. All right. So whosoever asked that question, I guess you need to I mean, it's very simple. If you already think ahead कि भाई आपकी community उसे adopt नहीं करेगी, then you're slightly wrong, in my opinion. You have to make sure that you not only create like a good problem, but also come up with a good solution and try to convince people that this will actually solve the problem for the community. So you are actually one step ahead and thinking of something negative. I would not encourage you to do that. Rather, focus on your solution in a way that it is the best possible opportunity to solve the community problem. And this is how I guess you will always convince the people later on too.
Great, thank you. So Janzeb says, so my question is, what if there's a solution that requires a substantial initial investment in order to implement?
Good question. As of now, I guess हमने इस पे already focus किया कि if you narrow down your problem and if you try to first solve it for the immediate community, that is most important. And for that, जितना आप narrow down करेंगे और जितना आप उस अपने project के pilot phase को कम से कम रखोगे और impact show करोगे, then based on numbers and based on the impact, you can ask for a funding later on in order to replicate or in order to expand your project. So the first thing is always that you try to pilot your project in a way that it shows an impact for a certain X number of people, and which of course does not require a lot of money. And once you are able to show numbers, then of course you take it to the the seed, ask for the fundraising opportunities or for the investor to ask for the money.
Great. So I think we've answered all the questions. सिर्फ summary में एक दफा before we thank Aiman, I want to quickly repeat. For solution challenge, दो चीजें बहुत जरूरी हैं, impact and technology. So we have had some great ideas. I know that you're already thinking about some wonderful ideas. उन ideas में आपने technology कैसे use करनी है, and in specific Google technology कैसे use करनी है, उसको please mind में रखें. मैंने इवैल्यूएशन क्राइटेरिया शेयर किया है उसको रिव्यू करें, उसके बाद अपना सोल्यूशन बिल्ड करना शुरू करें, सो दैट आप हर चीज़ को ऑलरेडी माइंड में पर्सपेक्टिव में रख के अपना सोल्यूशन बिल्ड कर रहे हैं. And Aiman, thank you so much for taking out the time. I know that this is like evening, afternoon time for you. I found the session very helpful. I hope everybody else as well, you know. But thank you for taking out the time.
Of course. Thanks, Afsa, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks a
And
lot.
wish you all the best of luck for this. And I hope that one of you guys is able to actually qualify for the top 3 winners for this global hackathon.
Inshallah.
इंशाल्लाह।
All right, guys.
Inshallah. All right. Take care, everyone.
Okay,
Allah.
take care, guys. Bye bye.
Okay, ma'am. Allah Hafiz. Ma'am, Afza, I have a question for you.
जी जी पूछे, मैं दे रही हूँ.
तो मैम, तो ये आपने इसमें हमने उनको गूगल वालों